Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to work on Paper Factory Section B, and this one has a fairly large amount of cargo that needs to be delivered as well, but just like Section A, it's not too much, so we should be able to get it done in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Welcome to the Wisconsin road trip. Let's get started. So we're going to take the Step 310 and run this down to the gas station. We'll pick up that service trailer that we hauled down on the last episode, and we'll get fuel and repair set up over at the Paper Factory. We'll jump into the twin steer, and we're going to run this over to the warehouse by the gas station and get loaded up with 2 concrete slabs. The first couple Paper Factory contracts are really not that bad. This one has 12 bricks that we need to haul over here, but we did craft 8 of them already on previous episodes over at the brick crafting factory. So that should take care of a pretty good portion of that, and then the rest of them we'll just find out in the wild. Section C has probably the biggest requirements as far as cargo goes, so that one's going to take the most work out of the 3 jobs that we have to do. Now that we got the concrete slabs, we can run these back over to the paper factory, and then we'll pick it up from there and figure out where we're going to go. Alright, we got those dropped off. I'm going to swing around and get refueled and repaired quick. I kind of blew a tire on that last trip. Then we'll jump into the A&K, and we can run over to that same warehouse and grab 2 cement out of there. Like I said before, the A&K is just out here to do some of these smaller trips. There's not going to be very many of them, but it's kind of nice to have a double slot truck out in the field that we can use to grab a couple things here and there. I like to have an assortment of different vehicles when I'm working on these jobs. Obviously, the 2 8-slot trucks we have are our big haul trucks. The twin steer is kind of the mid-sized one, and then this one will be for running out into the more problematic areas to grab those small loads. Also, the A&K is still a lot of fun to drive. It's one of my favorites. I'm just going to park it off to the side, and we'll jump back into the twin steer. We can run over to the railway station and pick up 2 more slabs. This warehouse has an unlimited supply of concrete slabs, so we should be able to just get what we need from here, and then we'll haul these back over there. There's kind of a lot of repetitive trips when you're working on these contracts, so it can get a little bit monotonous. Even though the cargo is different, the routes are the same, so it's a lot of back and forth. But we'll get these ones dropped off, and I'm going to park this truck off to the side. Let's take the bore, and we're going to run up to the brick factory and grab 8 bricks. Just like on the last episode, we're going to take our shortcut that goes across the wooden bridge in the middle and up the ravine on the other side. The bore should do a little better job heading up this hill than the Kolob did. Like I said before, this truck has off-road tires, and there's a lot of rocks in this ravine, and off-road tires do perform quite a bit better on these rocks than the big mud tires do. I usually try to leave it in high gear as long as possible before having to switch down to low and activating the diff lock. It seems like if you can keep your momentum, you can usually get through this stuff a little bit better, but once you lose that momentum, it's tough to get it back again. But we made it up here, and we're going to get turned around before we load up, just like we did with the Kolob. Remember to winch off the pole if needed to get the back end of your trailer around, and we'll grab those 8 bricks. I know the paper factory contracts can be a bit of a slog, but in all reality, because of the work that we did previously, they're going to go a lot easier than they have in the past for me, when I didn't take the time to prepare for them. Let's head back down the ravine and we'll go get these delivered. That little Hummer's been sitting there since the first episode. and we're pulling back in, we can get these bricks dropped off. We're going to park this truck off to the side again, and we'll jump into the twin steer. We need to get a few more bricks and some metal rolls. There's 2 metal rolls still in the brick factory, and there's some bricks out in the wild up in that same area that we can grab. I basically get refueled and, if needed, repaired also every time I'm leaving here, so I can always take off with a full tank. If you have this wooden bridge fixed from the very beginning, like we did in episode 3, it makes getting around this map a lot easier, instead of having to drive all the way up around by that gateway in the southwest corner. But once you go up the ravine a little ways, you're going to see there's a road off to the right. We can swing in here and grab these 2 bricks. Then we'll head back out of here. We're going to reconnect with that ravine and run up to that brick factory. Now this corner is a little bit tough because it's leaning downhill and we need to turn uphill. So there's always a risk of tipping over here. Just take it nice and slow. Follow the side of the tree line. If you need to, you can always throw a winch off to one of those trees for support. And we'll get turned around and load up those 2 remaining metal rolls. I believe this is the last of the cargo in this warehouse now. Yep, everything is out of here. From here, we'll head back down to the paper factory and get these dropped off. Okay, we got those turned in. We need to get a couple more cement and some more metal rolls. So I'm going to jump into the garage and grab the Taiga and a 5-slot trailer. For the last 4 rolls, we're going to have to craft them. So let's run over to the crafting area that's by the garage and we'll get 2 metal beams. We're going to have to take these to the rolled steel factory that's in the middle of the map. We can also grab cement out of this crafting area, so we'll have both of those taken care of. You know me, when I'm in the end game and doing the final push, I pretty much always pull the Taiga out because it makes short work of most anything that we have left. We'll get the generator turned back on and top it off with fuel. We can craft the 2 cement and 2 metal beams right away. So I'm going to overload the 1 cement on top, just so we can get everything in this one trip. Alright, now leaving here, we're going to take the path that goes through the swamp on the east side of the map, and I'll show you what I think is the best route to go through here to make it the easiest. I usually try to stick close to the side here because the mud isn't as deep over there. And then I cut through past the trees over by the farmstead. When you're running this fence over, you just have to be careful you don't blow out your truck. Even though the fence does break down, they can get lodged underneath your truck and destroy your tires and suspension pretty easily. And then crossing the lake over here, it's pretty much always muddy, but if you use low gear, you should be able to get through there fine. I'm going to get topped off with fuel since we're going by the gas station. Then we'll run up to that rolled steel factory. The trip up there is kind of treacherous as well. There's a big landslide on the highway, so you'll have to go around those big boulders. I usually just stay down here to the left, down in the ditch, and there is a risk of tipping over here, but if you take it easy, you'll be fine. There's also a power line pole there that you can winch to. And then instead of following the highway up and around the corner and trying to go over the big boulders, I usually cut over here to the left and get on this dirt road. This goes right up to the top. It's pretty steep, but it's also pretty safe. So we'll get these 2 beams turned in, then we can craft the 4 metal rolls and reload them. Now heading out of here, instead of driving down the hill and back around, I'm going to take a shortcut that goes out the backside. You can actually go down the hill. There's a couple places you can go down, but I'm going to take the second one. It's a little safer. Right here, and takes you right back to the highway. Now that we got all that turned in, the only thing we have left is 2 bricks. So we'll park this truck off to the side, and I'm going to jump into the Taiga. There's a couple bricks that are not too far away. We'll run down and pick those up, and we'll be done with this contract. So I'm going to take a right out of the paper factory, and if you go up the road a little ways, you'll see that there's a dirt road that cuts off to the left. Once you get on that road, you're going to want to follow this ravine down. Get close to the shoreline, then we'll take the shoreline over to some brick framing that's over here to the right. And then after loading, we'll just continue on and head back up the next ravine that's down the shoreline a little ways. Pretty easy trip for this one, and the A&K just kind of dominates through here. It's a fun truck to drive. Alright, let's turn these in. And there it is, Paper Factory Section B is also now complete. On the next episode, we're going to do Section C, and we'll be done with the Paper Factory contracts, and we'll get ready to move into the finale. We'll see you then, and thanks for watching.